Good evening and welcome to another episode of Football Home Podcast, Friday night edition. Apparently we have nothing better to do with our Friday night than talk shit about soccer, so here we are.
Football.
Football, soccer, it's all the same.
No.
Anyway, we will dive straight into a Champions League review, and we'll start where we left off on Tuesday. And that was with Chelsea playing against AC Milan. A good win in the end, Andreas. Were you watching the second half?
Yeah, it was like it is a win. Like it's a win, and that's what matters. But like it was not the best performance by us, and as much as I think Potter's doing a really good job, it has been like the last 3 or 4 games has not been good enough, in my opinion. But like it's a win, and we are in the last 16 now, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. Especially in Champions League group stage, because Salzburg is a really good team. Milan is a really good team. Zagreb is a really good team. So just surviving that and going to last 16 is what matters. But I don't think the gameplay is good enough. I don't think what we do is quite on the level it should be. But again, it's a win, and that's what matters.
Is that down to the players, the management? What's the issue, do you think, with Chelsea at the moment?
I think it's the players. I think it's the players. I think Aubameyang in general is not the like, he's not the dream player that we could have gotten. And I've said this in the past. I'm not a fan of taking someone that Barca can use, and that's not because it's Barca, but I'm just not a fan of we are getting someone that another big team could not use, and that's kind of how I see Aubameyang. He has been doing decently. Like it has not been bad or anything, but he's just not a dream player, and I think it also takes time for Potter. And I think that's fair for the players as well. Like it's a new manager, and it's always when you get a new manager, the first 2 or 3 games will be amazing, because we need to show, both the manager and the players need to show that they are good enough for this. But like even though you have that momentum, it's still a whole new thing for both the manager and for the players, and that takes time. I do think also quickly with I do think there are some. Like in the United game, for example, I was not the biggest fan of the way he had the lineup. I'm not the fan of how he used Cucurella. So I do think there are some weird things he do. But I get like I think he just wants to show that this is his team, and he's going to try some different things. And like he only has these Champions League and Premier League matches. So it's fair that in those matches he will need to try different things. We just pay more attention to it because we watch the matches, but like he needs to try different things in these matches, because it's the only matches he has, besides the England tournaments as well, Carabao Cup and FA. But yeah, so I think it's fair that he's trying different things, and I think it will be fine. But for right now, it's I think it will become better, but right now I don't think it's quite where it needs to be.
Yeah. Warren, any thoughts on this?
I didn't watch the game per se, but I think with Potter and with like any new manager, it's gonna take some time for. I mean, I think a lot of people or the football community expects this new manager come with this magic wand and just fix everything 1, 2, 3. And it's some players and some managers, they can come in and fit in like a glove, like Luis Diaz did with Liverpool. He fit in like a glove when he was signed. Not everybody can do that. Aubameyang is going to take some time. He comes from Barcelona, hasn't played in the Champions League in a while. So comes back, he needs, and it's a whole new team. It's not like he went back to Arsenal. So it's a different team, and he comes in with a new manager as well. So it's all this changes happening at the same time. I get with Potter, it has been, these wins has been whimsical at times, and people are not happy with the formation that he's using and taking people off in 40 minutes and stuff like that. But we also need to remember that he's coming from Brighton, who plays very, defensively, and now he's switching to Chelsea, and they're more offensive team playing style. So it's a lot of adjustments. So I get where Potter is, and I get where the players are, and I get where the fans are coming from. They want Chelsea to be the top team. But like Andrea said, they're through to the top 16. They deserve it based on how they played a couple of games. So let's see what happens next week with the final game and who's going to be the top of the the group, I guess. And happy for Chelsea, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Fair enough.
So also quickly, like he
Yeah.
has not lost a match yet with Chelsea. So that is like a really interesting thing as well, of course.
Has he
It's
not?
just going to be very interesting that on Saturday it's Chelsea versus Brighton, and that is going to be one. It's basically the Potter derby that's happening.
Yeah.
Fair enough. A big game on Tuesday, a big win for PSG against Maccabi Haifa. I guess everybody kind of expected PSG to win, but maybe not score 7. Richard?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I didn't watch much of the game. I think maybe Hector would be a better representative to talk about Haifa, but yeah, maybe someone else can take over that.
You want me?
Yeah, Andreas, if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, so like I expected PSG to score a lot of goals, and I expected Haifa to score. I think I predicted 4 or 5-1 to PSG, because as much as like Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, as much as they are like amazing in the offense, the defense is just not good enough. And like Haifa is going to score. Like I was legit not shocked at all. I was not even shocked about them scoring 2 goals. But like it doesn't matter when you score 7 goals. Like it doesn't matter how much Haifa is doing when PSG comes out and does that. And like it's just PSG, and that's what they do against these small teams. But it is, of course, very worrying to see that even against a team like Haifa, not to talk bad about them at all, of course, but it is worrying to see that PSG is letting Haifa scoring 2 goals against them. And I think they scored in the first match as well, if I'm not mistaken. So like, yeah, that is something that PSG has to worry about in the last 16, and probably what will kick them out, as it always is. Yeah.
Warren, any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that they won. I kind of expected them to win, not by that many goals. I think in the chat we were like, "Oh crap, they scored again," and we were also worried about our predictions at that point because we knew they were going to win. But I mean, they've got a stacked team, and PSG, and I shouldn't be any surprised that they are actually getting so many goals in. And I mean, good for them. Haifa has been a dark horse of the competition so far, and they've been showing big teams that look, we're here to play, and we're not going to, rest on our laurels and stuff like that. So it was a decent match, predictable win, but not by that margin of goal. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
The big game then on Tuesday evening was the Haaland derby, as such. Manchester City against Dortmund, and it seemed like Dortmund kind of found the perfect way to play against Haaland. Just kick him and be physical against him, take him out of the game. Richard, I don't know if you watched this or have any thoughts.
Yeah, I actually did watch a bit of that game. I think it's obvious that in that game the 2 stars from each team was going to be Haaland, and then for City, and then Jude, who I think Warren had predicted that he'd at least run away with 1 goal, but unfortunately none of the 2 big stars in the game were able to run away with a goal. But I think it's mostly because I think Pep said in a post game interview that he just saw that Haaland just was tired and seemed fatigue. So he just saw it's best for his team to just sub him off and put in someone that actually, can put in the effort in that specific game. I mean, someone that scores almost 2 goals every game, of course, he's going to be tired unless he's like some sort of cybernetic robot that's unkillable or something.
Yeah, no, I was shocked that it ended in a draw, but it was for me. It was just City just looked hammered for me. I don't know. It was just nostalgic to watch them, and Dortmund actually took advantage of it. Holland had a foot injury knock, and had to go out, and Cancelo had a fever, and he had to go off. So it was it's just one of those nights. And the one highlight of that match that I should point out was that Mahrez missed the penalty again, second UEFA Champions League match that he missed the penalty. And people are wondering now, should he be taken off of penalties? Because when I get it, De Bruyne was on the bench, Haaland was taken off, so who else was going to take the penalty? But I mean, he's no Jorginho, or if you're going to be in that role. I mean, this is not the first time that Mahrez has missed penalties, so maybe that's something that Pep should take into account. But he did say that after the Brighton match, it took a lot out of them, and the Champions League match just happened to come too early, and I guess it affected the team. Doesn't take anything away from them. They're through to the final 16, and I guess we see both City and Dortmund. So let's see what happens next.
Yeah, I think. I think Dortmund is Holland's kryptonite. I have to be honest. I really feel like after seeing.
He did score against them first time round. To be fair,
he did, but like not at all on the level that Holland usually is. Like it was a much more bad version. It's still Holland, but a much worse version of him than any other team he plays against. And I really like Dortmund is probably the team that this season in Champions League has surprised me the most, because I thought they would be really bad. Like I was not even confident that they would survive to the last 16. I expected them to do, but I was not confident in it. And now they're just doing a really, really good job, and especially against Holland, they really know how to play against him. So yeah, really, really good job for Dortmund. And yeah, with Mahrez, they need a new penalty taker. I guess when Holland is playing or Kevin De Bruyne, they will naturally be the one taking the penalties. But really good point, Warren, that it's just not working. He missed against Copenhagen, and now in this match as well. So yeah, that doesn't work, of course.
Before we move on to the next, I just have a question. Any of you guys can answer this. Watching the last couple of games for City, even in the Premier League, and you see they lost against Liverpool, they drew against Dortmund. Now, the previous time they faced Dortmund, it was just it was a tough game for them. Do you think that teams are starting to figure out how to play against Holland now, and maybe this tides are maybe turning slightly? I know Haaland is like a monster on the pitch and between the goals and stuff, but I mean, if you watch their games, I mean, a good team will go and watch what they're doing and obviously figure out how to play against him. Do any of you guys think that teams are starting to figure this out, and that's maybe why City is kind of dipping, but not like dipping, but they are starting to, they're not ascend. They're busy declining a little bit in their performances.
Well, they did beat Brighton on the weekend. Well, I mean,
I know that. I'm just wondering with the form, and I'm just wondering whether teams are starting to figure out how to play against him, Haaland now per se. I mean, they've got other major stars there.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. And I did not really think about it, but when you think about it, it makes perfectly sense, because there is a difference. Like there is a difference in City not being quite on the level that they were at the beginning of the season with him. And I think it's like, I think the teams have figured out what to do against him, but he is still good enough to score goals. I don't think it will get to a point where City is in big troubles. but it's just more like he's more human now. It's like, you know, watching Messi or Ronaldo, or like, it's still amazingly great players that will score the goals, but it's like, it's more natural now. It's more human. The other teams kind of learn what to do against it, and like against City will still be amazing, and I don't think it will hurt them that much.
Mhm.
But like, it is. I think it's a really good point that it is different from the beginning, where he just destroyed anything. Like, so yeah, really good point.
Yeah, I think a little bit about Haaland. So the way Van Dijk seemed to have figured out how he plays is that usually when, let's say, Haaland is about to get maybe a cross from like De Bruyne, who wasn't obviously in the Champions League
Match.
game this time, he almost sort of like goes one direction, which is closer to the person that's about to give him the cross, and then just as the ball is about to come to him, he moves in the opposite direction. And I think the one way Van Dijk was able to sort of like counter that is to sort of like give Haaland space, so that if he does those quick directional changes, Van Dijk has enough almost like sort of like thinking time to be able to predict that and, you know, take him out. So I'm not sure if that happened in the Dortmund game as well, but that's been one way to neutralize Haaland so far. So yeah, enough about that.
I think it's just a small blip. I don't think it's anything major to be worried about, but time will tell. Like he did kind of bounce back on me last weekend against Brighton, and I fully expect him, if he starts against Leicester on the weekend, to go out and score another hat trick and shut the critics up. But anyway, we'll move on. The big shock, one of the big shocks on Tuesday was Benfica 4, Juventus 3. Andreas, any thoughts on this? A pretty bit of a shock seeing Juventus losing.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's a shock, and at the same time, not really, to be honest, because Juventus is like, the Italian teams in general is just very like, they are not where they were like 5 years ago, and Juventus in particular has just dipped really down. I hate to say it, but kind of after Ronaldo left, to be honest, it has just not been doing too good for Juventus. But yeah, of course, Juventus should win this match. But Benfica is a great team, and I think Benfica won the last game as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, they're tied with PSG on 11 points at the top of the group.
And so yeah, Juventus is out now, and hopefully for them they can make it to Europa League, but they need to defeat Haifa, if I'm not mistaken, to even. I think they will, but if they lose that match, they're not even in Europa League. So yeah, Juventus just going down, and at the same time as they are like going down, the Portugal teams is going up. Benfica, Porto is doing pretty good as well. Like,
it's PSG they're playing next week, by the way, Andreas. Just to say,
what?
No, they're playing PSG on next week, not Haifa.
Oh, they are. Okay, my bad then. But yeah, they need to. I'm pretty sure they are tied with Haifa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they need like so it's actually pretty possible that they don't even make it to Europa, which is even more crazy.
Well, Haifa would have to beat Benfica.
Yeah. True.
And Juventus would have to draw or lose. If Juventus win, they're through because they have a superior goal difference, unless Haifa beat Benfica 6-0 or something stupid.
Yeah.
The goal difference is pretty hefty.
Yeah, so they will probably make it, but again, it's not like at this point it should be like, okay, we are sure to go to Europa League, and they are not even that. So yeah, not good for Juventus, and yeah, of course it's a shock, but again, at the same time, like Benfica is doing good. Again, I think all the Portugal teams are moving up the ladder, if you can say it like that. But like, of course, we can talk about Juventus not being on the level they used to be and all this kind of stuff, but of course it's not acceptable. Like, every Juventus fan will be like, this is not good, this is not okay. and of course, because Juventus have so much DNA in this competition and in Serie A as well, and they're just not delivering. I think I don't even think they're in top 4 in Serie So yeah, really not good for Juventus, and a huge loss for them.
Yeah. Unless anyone else has any opinions on this, I'll move on. Another big shock on Tuesday night was RB Leipzig 3, Real Madrid 2. I'm not sure if who wants to discuss this. Warren, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm shocked. I mean, I guess they qualified already and they figured, okay, what the hell, let's just play and if whatever happens, whatever. Because, I mean, I don't know if it was since Benzema got injured or what, or I don't know what's happening with that team. But they're not at the level that there was last season. However, backing that up, last season they didn't have the best of seasons as well and still went on to the finals and winning. So I wouldn't count them out yet, but I'm just surprised. This is the team. This is the reigning champions of the Champions League, and to be performing like that against. I mean, not taking anything away from Leipzig. They amazing. They've got amazing talent there. I mean, Werner and all those people are there, and big boost for Leipzig. I mean, if they're going into the next couple of matches, I don't know where they are on the table right now, but going into the next couple of matches, this should be a big confidence because if you can beat Real Madrid, I mean, come on now, I mean, you should feel like Superman. So
they're a point behind
excuse me?
Real. They're in second, just a
Yeah.
point behind Real.
There you go. So, and if I'm Real Madrid going into, I mean, they did qualify, but there's this little thing called complacency, and getting comfortable, and where you are sitting, and once you do that, you start dropping the ball. And I mean, losing to Leipzig, I mean, should be a big red flag for them. So I was kind of surprised. So it was. I didn't predict that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'd actually made a bet on the game. Don't be confused. Don't be confused by the white hoodie I'm wearing. I'm not a Real fan. I know I just made an edit of me wearing a Real Madrid shirt, but I actually made a bet that Real was gonna win because it's like, duh, of course they're gonna win, but they didn't. The game could have very well easily ended in 3-1, game over. First time in probably ages since Real Madrid possibly lose by a 2-goal difference. But obviously that penalty in the last remaining minutes of the game gave the Real some sort of like what do you call it, consolation by 1-goal difference. So I think even though Real seems to have had a bad game, I don't think we should count them out. I mean, like someone had already said, last season everyone was like, there's no way these guys are winning anything, and they beat all the best teams in Europe. So and I mean, not to go to the Premier League, but we saw Casemiro, gave United almost like a win out of nowhere. Well, a good result out of nowhere, in their game. So I guess it runs in the Los Blancos DNA. Who knows? Maybe I'm the new Abdus today. Who knows?
Yeah, I think you guys said it. Like, this is not the best for Real Madrid, but like they're already safe. Like, of course, getting first place is the best thing, of course. But like, I'm not worried for them. Leipzig needed this win more, and they got it. Leipzig is hopefully they're not even safe yet, but they will.
No, they're not safe.
Yeah, but they have more points than second place. So if they can get a draw, they will be safe.
They have to win, or they can't lose, because if they lose and Shakhtar wins, then
they have
it's
no. Shakhtar are on 6 points. Real are on 10.
No, we're talking about. Oh, sorry, Leipzig. Sorry, I was talking about Leipzig.
Yeah.
The goal difference. Shakhtar do have a superior goal difference as well, to be fair.
So Shakhtar wins.
If Leipzig can get a draw, they will be safe. So they needed this win. They really needed it, and they got it. And like, I'm not worried for Real Madrid yet. Like, it's like they do it every season. They play not terribly, but they are never the best team in the groups. And then when it comes to the knockouts, they just do it so many times, sadly.
Not if they get Napoli.
True. That could be fun.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid were already through, so I think it didn't really matter. So I think they rested a couple of players and things like that. So anyway, we will move on. We will go to Wednesday, and the big result Wednesday evening was Inter Milan 4, Victoria Pilsen 0, which means Barcelona were knocked out of the Champions League at the group stages, which was a big shock. Andreas, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing with this was that it was before the Barca match, and honestly, that kind of bothers me, to be honest, because I feel like it would have been so much more interesting for the fans, for the players as well, if the Barca match and the Inter match was happening at the same time. So and like. I don't know why they choose this time. There's probably many good reasons, and I clearly can't know about that. But I just think looking at it from a fan, looking at it like as if you were a player as well, I think this would have been more entertaining for everyone if it was at the same time. Of course, Inter will probably win no matter what. Like this was not a surprising win. Of course, Inter won. PLSN is like it was really difficult for them, of course, just this group in general. So of course Inter was winning, so like it would not have made any difference in the outcome, I think, but still I feel like there could have been so much more drama and so much more for the Barca players if the match happened at the same time. So that actually kind of bothers me, but like of course Inter won and nothing surprising there.
Yeah. Warren?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. I actually got this prediction spot on. I mean, I'm not taking away anything from the team that Inter played against. I wouldn't say they're bottom tier or something like that. They're in the Champions League for a reason, so let's give them props. They made it to the Champions League. But yeah, I wasn't surprised that they won. But it was just a bad result in the retrospect for Barcelona, which, like Andrea said, it was just a foregone conclusion that they were out. So I mean, why? We don't have control over how they schedule these stuff. But yeah, Inter Milan has always been with Inter Milan, right?
Yeah, Inter Milan. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a top-notch team, and yeah, I wasn't surprised by the win, and yeah.
Fair enough. Another kind of big shot on Wednesday evening was the unbeaten team in Group B so far, Club Brugge, or Club Brugge, losing to Porto. They had previously been unbeaten, and they went and lost 4-0. They had been the dark horses so far of the competition, being top of their group. So it was a little bit of a shock seeing them lose. Warren, do you have any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I know a lot of people in our
I think I think I'll share my thoughts on the game. I think is he back?
I don't think so, not yet.
Yeah, I think just looking at the game, clearly Porto, dominated every aspect except position. I think they were a little bit better holding their ball and, sort of scoring goals on the counter. I just think that Club Brugge shouldn't look at this game and think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. We've seen teams like Bournemouth lose 9-0 to a good team like Liverpool, and then in games after that, they still have the winning mentality. So I think with their performances, Club Brugge should be sort of like proud of the way they've played, and they should look at the next games with a little bit more positivity, regardless of this disappointing result at home of all places.
Yeah, like Club Brugge is still ahead. Still, they are going to the last 16. That in itself is amazingly. a really, really, really good job by them. So like, of course, it's a big loss. I get that, but like, really, really impressive what they have done. I think in the game, I think they were just too focused on I don't know, on defensive and just wanted a draw, because if they had gotten a draw, they would have been secure in first place. So I think they were just too defensive in it, and that kind of killed it for them. But it's still like they have done a really, really good job. And like Atletico and Leverkusen, a really, really, really difficult group, and those two teams are out. That just says so much about Club Brugge and Porto. And what a win for Porto. Like, again, Portugal team, really, really doing a good job, all of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to you, Warren, since you're back.
Hey, sorry, I lost connection. So yeah, I was saying that I was surprised that they lost, because in our group chat, people were praising them because they have been, and people didn't expect them to excel and to lose to Porto, who has been, a bit of a yo-yo club in this season so far, in my opinion. So I was completely shocked. I actually predicted that they would win by a landslide. But yeah, it just shows how unpredictable the Champions League is this season. Same with the Premier League. Everything is so tight, and one wrong losing thing, and then you drop points, and it could spell disaster for your season or your campaign. So yeah, shocked that they lost, but I mean, I guess they were safe in any case. So
yeah. We'll move on then. The other game in that group that Andreas mentioned was, of course, Atletico and Leverkusen. Both sides who are actually out now of the group and out the Champions League. Two sides who you would have maybe expected to go and win the group. Andreas?
Yeah, like that in itself is crazy, because like Leverkusen is doing pretty good in Bundesliga right now. Atletico is Atletico. So really shocking. I don't think I would have predicted Leverkusen to move on. I think I would have Porto ahead of them before the beginning of the season. But no matter what, like, a really, really strong team, and Atletico as well. And the match in itself was really crazy at the end. Atletico scored a goal, but it was, I think it was disallowed or something. I don't quite remember how it happened, but something crazy happened. Oh yeah, the match ended. And Simeone, the Atletico manager, was on his way out of like in the back, and then they were looking for the ref was looking for a handball in the right before the match ended, and then they looked that in and had to figure out if there was a handball or not. And I don't remember what happened then, but it ended up not being a goal. But like, just so crazy stuff after the match actually happened, and then it ended up continuing, but still ended 2-2. So, and like, if Atletico had won that, they would have been, I think, still in contention for moving on, if I'm not mistaken. So,
well, with the Porto result, it probably wouldn't have made a whole lot of difference. It would have moved them.
not if they won.
It would have moved them up to 7 points, and they would have had to go and win in their
last match.
They would have had to go win their final game to be in with a shout.
Yeah, exactly. So they had a chance if they had won. So that was really crazy, and now they both have to hope that they can end up in the Europa League, because both deserve it, like, honestly. So yeah.
We will move on to the game of the day, which was Ajax 0, Liverpool 3. Not really a huge surprise. Richard, I'll come to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to look like a brag, but of course Liverpool's going to dominate the game. We're the best team in the multiverse. This is expected of us. Nothing new. Of course we're going to win. But I think an important thing to talk about in that game is, I think, listen, Liverpool have been performing well, and I think that's something I think me and Warren have been looking for, some sort of level of consistency throughout the games. And I think this game sort of like verifies that. And except obviously we had that unfortunate result with Brentford. So I'm happy about the way the game went, and I'm happy with Nunes finally showing his some of his colors. Warren?
Yeah, I was actually nervous at the beginning of the I was
Really?
nervous at the beginning of the match because it was like there was just there was nothing steady at the beginning. I was just like, please, dear God, just get control of the game. It's like
They
control the
almost
ball
scored
and
at the
just
beginning, yeah.
so yeah, and Ajax was like at the first 40 minutes of that
Yes.
game, I was like, "Jeez, what this? I was having deja vu, like at the beginning of the season. Like if these people get the golden noses in front, we are screwed." And Salah getting the goal in just before
Understood.
halftime, I was like, "Okay, thank God." Okay, just calm everything and what I want to say is this is our 5th win in 6 matches, and yes, we lost against Nottingham, and it's not like there wasn't chances. There was just Dean Henderson was just amazing in the goals in the post, so let's just give them props. Well, I'll call this a blip on the radar. That loss, it doesn't mean a lot for we continue the momentum, and even with injuries and all this stuff, we're getting the goals in. We're scoring 3 goals as matches now. So I'm happy for the team. I'm happy that we're through. And next week's match is just the formality, I guess. So I'm just glad that is done and we can focus on Premier League now.
What do you
There
think of Harvey Elliott's goal?
Oh yes, I said it was a creamer.
Screamer, creamer.
It
Yeah,
feels
I
like
think-
it
I
feels
think
like at the
cricket-
moment for me that Liverpool are struggling a little bit in the Premier League, but their Champions League form seems to be well.
Yeah.
Andrea, kind of what's your thoughts on that, and what is it that's allowing them to succeed in the Champions League but not in the Premier League? Salah in particular is proving to be like Messi in the Champions League at the moment.
Yeah,
But in
that's
the Premier League, he looks average, like he could play with Southampton or something.
That's actually a good question. I think Klopp kind of like knows that like Premier League you can kind of lose 5 matches and then still like especially at the beginning, like look at West Ham, they were so bad and now they're in top 10. So that just proves that like you can lose matches, but at the beginning it's so close, so you can quickly come back. You can't do that in Champions League. Like it's 6 matches in the group stage, and if you don't perform there, you are done. You are out. And I think of course Klopp cares about Premier League. Of course he does. But I think he has really been like, okay, we need, especially because it didn't start too well in Champions League. Like it didn't start too well. I think a loss and a draw and a win
Napoli.
in the first match. Yeah. And Napoli was already there looking strong, and Ajax was had a lot of more potential there at the beginning. So I think Klopp was like, okay, we need to do something here, and I think that's kind of the reason, like kind of with West Ham and all the like Frankfurt as well. Like he in Europa last season, he kind of he did more to make them good in Champions League, I think. Yeah. But I think they are starting to become better now in Premier League as well. And I think like, of course it's 2 different tournaments, but like when you go out and beat Ajax 3-0? Yeah, 3-0 at Ajax. Like Ajax is a really, really, really strong place, a really big fan base. When you go out and do that, it really gains you some momentum in any competition. And I think we will see that going forward in Premier League as well. So like really, 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 I'm really surprised by how great Liverpool was there, because that's really a big win. I expected a draw, so really Liverpool in that match.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll move on to Tottenham 1, Sporting 1. and this one had a lot of controversy in it, especially towards the end. Warren, I know you have thoughts on this. I know you were watching the end particularly.
Yeah, I watched the end because I was watching the Liverpool game and then they switched over to the Spurs game, and it was right at the end where Harry Kane got the goal in to give them to Spurs the edge. To was like right on the cusp in the midst of deep stoppage time, like 90 odd minute, 96th minute or something, and there was this long review of almost 3 minutes offside and all this stuff, blah, 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 but it took so long, and then obviously the goal got disallowed, and people are still saying, "Oh, somebody moved the ball or the line or whatever." So this whole controversy against Spurs, and the end result is now that because of that, it's gonna come down to the last game for Spurs to determine whether or not they're gonna go through to the final 16. Because I think in Group D, the points are now 8, 7, 7, and 6, which is Tottenham, Sporting, Frankfurt, and Marseille. So anything can happen, and that's the tightest group at the moment. So anything can happen in Group D with this last matches. Whoever wins these are going through. So it's must win for Spurs and Sporting and Frankfurt and Marseille. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, of course. Richard, don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, what I found hilarious, about the end of the match, was how Conte was literally the happiest man on the planet when Harry Kane scored the goal. He literally was jumping up and down as if he's won like a treble or something like that. And then to see the goal being reviewed and the anger and confusion and frustration on his face is just classic Conte, almost from having some hints of Mourinho inside of him as well. So, look, unfortunate result for Tottenham, but I think Tottenham have been lacking the quality, and props to their midfield. I think Benteke and Højbjerg have been doing an amazing job there, but I think especially when it comes to one game in the Premier League and most of the Champions League performances, they just haven't been looking like a top 4 team, So, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the fun thing with Tottenham, because we just talked about Liverpool being better in Champions League than in Premier League. It's the exact opposite with Tottenham. They are much better in the Premier League than they are in Champions League. They still have problems in Premier League, especially against the top 6 teams. But it is pretty fun to see how they just and I've said it many times now that Tottenham they lack this kind of mentality in a way. And then Sporting, again, a team from Portugal that just they're not safe, but they're doing a pretty good job. And this group in general is just really, really strong and really, really, really close. So yeah.
We can tell you have an obsession with Portuguese teams, Andreas.
No, but I really think usually I never really pay attention to them, but they are really doing a good job. And in my opinion, right now they are better than every French team, besides PSG, of course, and they are better than every Italian team besides Napoli.
And the interesting fact now, 2 interesting facts about this is if Tottenham doesn't make it through, they're going to be the only English team that's not going to make it through to the final 16, which is going to be a big blow to their confidence in all competitions. And Conte has a straight red card. So next week is going to be... That's going to be a tasty affair. I don't know who they're playing next week, but
I'll tell you now. 2 seconds.
We'll that's going to be interesting. But I really do think,
they play Marseille, I believe.
Oh, and I think the main problem is that third component for Spurs. They don't have Kulusevski. They don't have Richarlison. I know Lucas Moura played. He started this game, but I mean, I still think because Son is not at the level that he should be, the whole team is dependent on Kane, and you can't be dependent on one team player. It's not going to work. Not if you Spurs, because he's not getting that service. That's just how I feel. I think that is where they're struggling. But the injuries in the front three, they're not getting the service through because Son is supposed to be that support or even that that partnership with Kane, and it's not happening for some reason. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with Son. I don't. I don't, because it's not like he's injured or anything like that. Maybe he needs a holiday or something. I don't know. Maybe the
Yeah.
World Cup should just come now so that he can. I don't know if he's in the international team or what. If he's going to, if they qualified for the World Cup, but he needs to go and find himself again. Go into a little cave and do some meditation and find yourself again. I don't know what's happening. He got that hat trick against Leicester, and then it was just back to square one, and I don't know. I don't know what's happening with him.
Yeah, just a little bit on that. I think it's like it's difficult for me to say that someone that had like such a good performance last season. I think he scored about 22 goals, got the Golden Boot along with Mo Salah,
Salah.
and it's like, how did he? Like, what's making him drop so much form? Because I look at the game, I can see he still has a little bit of impact. There's some slight unluckiness in that, and maybe that's playing against his confidence. But I think that just having Son and Kane in your team should be enough for you, to get you 1 or 2 goals. Obviously, they're unfortunate with the last goal that was disallowed. But I just think that even without Richarlison, Lucas Moura, who I love, I think Tottenham should have enough quality in attack. They have good quality in the midfield. Defense is not too terrible itself, but I don't know.
Fair enough. We'll quickly speed through the Europa League and Conference games. The big result on Thursday afternoon was Arsenal again struggling, second game in a row. It just doesn't seem to be clicking for them at the moment for whatever reason. Warren?
Yeah, it's actually the third one, because if you count the Leeds game as well, that they won by one, like slim margin. It's just I think they're starting to plateau, I guess, if you can look at it that way. They had this big high at the beginning of the season, and they were winning all these matches, and now slowly but surely they're starting to taste defeat, and they're starting to get some draws in. I don't know if they're missing Zinchenko, and Jesus hasn't been performing in the last couple of matches. Nketiah hasn't been getting he's playing mostly in the Europa League as the front person. It's just been sloppy lately. So good news for the other teams in the Premier League, I guess. That Arsenal is starting to kind of slowly decline, and I guess this is what a lot of people have been saying, that they don't have the stamina to go all the way, maybe, and maybe this is the first signs of that. I'm not counting them out yet, but yeah, the next fixtures Forest, and I mean, don't count Forest out. We've seen what they can do. Yeah, so
after highest of last weekend against Liverpool, they will be hungry.
Yeah, definitely, and Arsenal got a draw against Southampton, so that to me is just I don't know. It's gonna be a interesting match, just to say the least. I know they've got Saka, they've got Martinelli, they've got Jesus, they've got all these greats, they've got Odegaard, all these players, but for some reason, just like Harry said, the click is that at the beginning. That free-flowing motion that they could just pass the ball, get the job done. The light is starting to dim a little bit. They're having a little bit of load shedding, I guess.
Yeah, I think the problem is they do have a decent team, so it's hard to know really
what the problem is. Yeah,
maybe it's Arteta as a manager, that he's not maybe the greatest manager in the world, and tactics maybe, I don't know. But anyway, we will move on. Unless, did you want to say something there, Richard? No?
Yeah, let's be honest. Yeah, I think there's so many managers that have obviously jumped off from obviously being players, assistant managers to big team managers. And I must say, number one, I was confused that obviously Arsenal would make such a huge risk of taking Arteta in as a manager for such a long time, and he's really done such a good job in this team. And I think, obviously it holds with like PSV of all teams. But I guess, like Warren would call it, winners fatigue, possibly. I mean, they haven't won anything since the days of being invincible. But I think this shouldn't be like an end-all, be-all for them. I do think they have enough squad depth. I mean, their teams looked amazing. Those quick passes, tiki-taka type, where they just blow through any team's sort of like defense or solidification. So I think Arsenal still got it. I think there's still a chance. Just an unfortunate result, but hopefully they get it together.
Yeah, they do have some really quality players there, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then moving into Thursday evening, Manchester United won 3-0 against Sheriff. A pretty comfortable win, to say the least. It felt like everything that could have gone right went right, pretty much. Ronaldo scored. They were allowed to rotate players because they were 2-0 up after about an hour. So they were able to rotate the squad, bring in players. Donny van der Beek got game time.
Harry Maguire
came back from injury. Alejandro Garnacho started his first ever game. And a lot of people saying now Sancho needs to be benched and Garnacho needs to be starting. The one thing, though, I don't know if anybody saw was Anthony and his little trick.
showboating.
His showboating that kind of went a little astray. Andreas, not sure if you saw it or have any opinions on it.
I've not seen that.
that. What
but
was your thoughts then?
But yeah, with the match like that, that's a huge win. And like it's a huge win in the way that it's really good for the team, but like they had to win this. Of course they did. Sadly for Sheriff, it's not going to be this season, sadly. But one day they will win it all. I know it. But like, of course they want this, and like there's not much to say. Of course they did, and what just makes it so great is the fact that Ronaldo started to work, Van der Beek, all these kind of players started working, and that's like. In the end, that's more important and more what United needed than the actual win, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Look,
Warren, not sure if you have any quick thoughts. Just to say, actually, Sheriff can make the Conference League if they beat Omonia next week,
Okay.
or if they draw even. But yeah, Warren, if you have any quick thoughts.
Quickly, United has, like I said in the last podcast, I give credit where credit is due. United has been on another level. They lost to City. Yes, we get that they lost to City, but you can't take away of the fact that even though their performances hasn't been like Rich would say on fire, but they're still getting the job done. And at the end of the day, that's important. Yes, it's United. It's this big club, and they've got big players. But at the end of the day, they're getting the job done, and you have to give them props. I just hope to God Erik ten Hag doesn't put Maguire back in the starting 11 and screws everything up. Because he seems I wouldn't want to work under him. But yeah. So overall, yes, happy Ronaldo got a goal in, and he's got his new. Celebration, but he doesn't do the jumping thing anymore. So, yeah, happy for United, and that's all I have to say, honestly.
What was your thoughts on the showboating?
Oh, I don't know. He's impressed me, but I mean, I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was trying, to be honest. I don't. And I don't think Erik ten Hag was actually happy with that that little thing that he tried over there. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. No, I don't think that he was. I don't think that was the problem. I think because he knows Anthony. He's had Anthony at Ajax, so he knows what Anthony does. I think it was probably just dismay at the pass going away, that final pass. If you're going to do that, make sure that you at least get that final pass correct.
True, yeah.
And we'll quickly have a chat about West Ham 1-0 against Silkeborg.
Just a second.
Yes.
To comment on the United game, I think, in my opinion, United just aren't good enough. I'm sorry. Like, I get they won 3-0. and it's against Sheriff. But Sheriff didn't even get a shot on target in that game. They had about 24 shots in the game. They had 10 on target, and then they scored 3. That's like what, 30%, efficiency rate against a team like Sheriff. I mean, I'm not complaining here, but also need to remember they're second in their sort of like Europa League table. So look, let's not get carried away here. United still have a long way to go. They're not at Liverpool standard, and they need to do better.
Richard.
Wait, just a second.
Look at
people see Cristiano scoring and they're like, "Oh, Cristiano is the best team in the world," but he scored the 3rd goal. It's almost like a last tap in just to stat pad, and how people think that, oh, Cristiano's back. God, the savior of the world. That's nonsense. Cristiano's dead. He's finished. Let's move on. There's better people to look at. Messi's still the GOAT. I'm sorry.
I can't with this guy. God. You need to be less biased, okay?
I'm sorry.
And then the Conference League game saw West Ham beat Silkeborg of Denmark 1-0. Pretty comfortable there. Andreas, any thoughts?
Yeah, but like I honestly think it's pretty impressive that Silkeborg was able to only make it 1-0 for West Ham. I think because, like, of course West Ham is a much better team. Like, this should be. So I think that was a good job by Silkeborg, to be honest. But yeah, like, West Ham won, and they are really safe going into to next round. And it's the other 3 teams that's all still fighting for second place, and hopefully Silkeborg wins the last match and moves on. But like, West Ham is safe, and I think West Ham is really starting to become a really good team again. I know it's of course it's easy matches in Europa League, but still, like, they're still doing a really good job where they are right now, and same in Premier League. So yeah.
Yeah, just to say, West Ham are actually 5 from 5 in the Conference League, and they're guaranteed top spot even in next week, so they can rest players.
Yeah,
and everything.
I think even though we can say props to them, at the end of the day, they won the game by like a penalty. So I think even though there is some improvement, I'm loving seeing sort of like Bowen look different. Declan, these are players that I loved last season, and they don't look as awesome as they did. But yeah, I think David Moyes, they've been having some good results here and there, and I'm happy for him, and hopefully it just gives them that much confidence just to at least see them kind of finish at the top half of the table, which looks like an impossible feat for them. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully they get more good results. But like, again, it's like easy teams. Yes, they've won all the games. It's easy teams. Maybe let's see them make it slightly more further in the competition. But again, it's also Conference League, so
fair enough. And it is now time for a brand new feature on the show. For this, I will hand over to Andreas, who can deal with this better than I can, because this is his baby. So
yeah, so we are going to do this new predictions game. I think we need to like fully have a talk about how we're going to do it forward. So like, there's rules and all this kind of stuff.
We probably should have discussed that beforehand then.
Yeah, we probably should, but but like, that's how it is, and it, like we have said this many times, this is all new for us, for all of us. Like, none of us are professionals in this, so we're all trying stuff out. But like, do we want to try it now, or do we want to wait till next week, or like, what do you all think?
We can explain the game and then we'll see if we can play it.
Okay.
Yeah, might as well while we're here.
Yeah. So the basic idea is that we are all going to make predictions. For this, we are going to do it for the next round of Premier League. We're going to do 2 or 3 predictions each, and it's going to be like, it's not going to be it's not going. It's not going to be what the result is going to be, but it's going to be like, do we think Holland is making hat trick, or will this or this team get clean sheets? So like specific stuff like that, and then we let's say 3 predictions each, and then the winner, the one that gets most points, gets a reward that we can discuss later what should be, and the loser gets a punishment. We can also just do the loser getting a punishment. We can figure out all of that stuff.
Yeah.
We may. I don't know if we should do it like, if we should do like so every prediction gets points. Like, so let's say one prediction, based on how bold it is, how many points it should get. I don't know if we should do it like that, but maybe we can do that. So like, let's say you say Son is going to score a hat trick in the next round. Then we can say, because this is really bold, then you get 3 points for this predictions or stuff like that. So based on how bold it is. So let's. I don't know who wants to start, but like predictions for next round of Premier League.
Why don't you start us off, Andreas? Since
Okay.
you're there and you
prediction.
can kind of use your example.
Yeah. I need to get the.
Yeah, the fixtures are Leicester against Man City is the early game on Saturday. The 3:00 kickoffs are Bournemouth, Tottenham, Brentford, Wolves, Brighton, Chelsea in the Potter Derby, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Newcastle, Villa, and then the 5:30 game is Fulham against Everton, and then there's a 7:45 game on Saturday
Holy
as well.
crap.
Is Liverpool against Leeds. And then there's 2 games on Sunday as usual. Arsenal against Forest, with Manchester United facing off against West Ham.
Okay, so can one of you guys write it down so we can remember what?
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments.
Okay, so I'm going to say Chelsea is going to have a clean sheet against Brighton. And I can quickly say, because like, of course it's Chelsea, and Brighton has not been scoring really good lately, so I think that's kind of safe. What else? I just got
The Sun Trossard did score against City last week.
City.
True. So it is bold. And hopefully I can get more points because it's bold. I just got Almiron in Newcastle in fantasy. So I'm going to say Almiron is going to score a goal.
Don't forget, it's Emery's first game in charge. We should actually just mention that Unai Emery taking over Aston Villa after Judas Steven Gerrard getting sacked.
So just to be clear,
over this week, taking a full cap of Villas. He's managed Villarreal, some other Villa, and now Aston Villa. So it seems like he likes managing his Villas for some reason.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that, but just to be clear, like, he can score 2 or 3 goals, doesn't matter, as long as he just score 1 goal. So it's minimum 1 goal for Almiron. And the last one. Okay, I'm going bold, and I'm saying that Son is going to score a goal.
You said that.
Are you sure you want to do that?
I'm going to be bold here. No, you know what? Let's change it. With Newcastle, I'm going to say Almiron is going to make a hat trick then. So Son 1 goal and Almiron is making a hat trick. Just to do different things.
Maybe I'll make my predictions. I think Leicester will beat City.
What?
Oh.
I think I've watched Leicester City play, and I think I'm fully confident that with City's bad spell recently, they can pull one off, and I feel like that would be a mammoth task. But who knows? That's why we're doing things like this to foresee the unpredictable. And I think I'll just do one more and say that Salah will have 3 goal contributions against Leeds. Warren?
Everybody's freezing for me for some reason.
Can you see us?
You are
I can
freezing
see
for us.
that. Everybody's freezing for me, coincidentally. But anyway, Fulham is gonna win against Everton by at least 2 goals. And can I make another contribution and say Mitrovic will get a goal in?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
obvious. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a prediction. And I think that Newcastle will beat Villa despite the 4-0 win loss round. And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna back what Andrea said, and Almiron will at least get 1 goal in. I'm not gonna say he's gonna get a hat trick, he'll get a 1 goal. And then my last one is going to be
conservative.
Excuse me?
I'm saying your predictions are so conservative.
And I'm gonna make a wild one and say it's gonna be a draw between Arsenal and Forest.
Fair enough. I would say that Emery will get at least a draw against Newcastle in his first match. New manager bounce and all that. I will say Forest will beat Arsenal, given their form lately. And I will say Mitrovic will score a penalty against Everton.
Go.
A penalty.
He has scored a lot of penalties this season, Mitrovic.
That's bold. I like that. That's bold.
So that's it, really, I guess.
So that's it, and like going forward, we will clearly talk about how to do it and all this kind of stuff. I think everyone needs to have the same amount of predictions, but for now we're just trying it out and see how it works. And then I think going forward, the host, that will in this case be you, Harry, I can do it as well. The host will decide like how many points will you get from your prediction, because some predictions will clearly be more safe than others. So based on how safe your predictions is, it will it will depend.
Shut up, Richard.
It will depend how many points you get, because clearly Almiron making a hat trick gets more points than maybe Chelsea not conceding any. So yeah, but we can talk about that going forward, and hope you guys can see the fun in this idea, because I think it can be really fun.
Fair enough. Thank you, Andreas, and thank you everybody for watching. We will be back on Tuesday, so keep an eye out on your subscribe to make sure that you get the next episode, because God knows what time we'll be doing it at, because we're just all over the place like that, because we do have lives. Thank you everybody for watching. We will see you on Tuesday. Have a good weekend, everybody.